Do you know what the best super funds are in Australia? Which one's yours? Did you choose it or was it your employer? Have you ever checked if it's a good one? Well, how do you compare super funds? I will answer all those questions, and I did one more thing. I went through the 6 best known comparison sites in Australia and compared over 350 offerings to shed some light into this big dark forest of super funds. Welcome, I'm Sabrina from retireon.com.au. Let's talk about super. This is one of the most important pieces in retirement planning in Australia, and you should think about this as early as possible. But you will be surprised by how little people actually care about their super funds. Let me ask you some questions. Do you know how much money you should have in your super fund when you're about to retire? What's your current balance? How does this balance compare to other people in your age group currently? What is the money invested in? Is it in the Australian market? Overseas? What are the returns this year or the last 5 years? How much fees do you pay for your super fund? Do you get insurance with your super fund? And how does your fund compare to others? If you can't answer these questions, then you should watch this video. Super is the money that's gonna make your life enjoyable when you retire. So the balance should be as big as possible. But how much money should be in your super fund when you're about to retire? Well, the Association of Super Funds Australia, ASFA, answered this question in their 2018 standard report. According to that report, a couple about to retire should have about 640,000 Australian dollars in their combined super funds. That's quite a lot of money, right? And this is if they're of good health and own their own house. But here is one more fact that may shock you even more. The ASFA published in 2017 a report about the average balance that people actually have in their super funds. So according to this report, people in the age group from 65 to 69, so short before or after retirement, have on average 207,000 in their super funds. So if you multiply this by 2 for a couple, you get 414,000. This is quite far off of this 640,000, don't you think? As you can see, you should think about your super as early as possible. You should choose a fund that suits your needs. But how do you choose a good fund? Well, according to the A6 Money Smart website, the independent government organization, there are 6 factors you should consider. First, the fees. They should be as low as possible. Then, investment options. Make sure that there are options you like and that you're comfortable with the risk they're taking. Extra benefits. Your employer may pay more than 9.5% for certain funds, and make sure that you can do extra payments, extra contributions if you like. Then performance. Choose a fund that performed well over the 5 past years and not just the best performing last years. You never know what's going to happen in the future. Then insurance. See what covers are available and how much it's going to cost you. And services. Call the fund and look up their website to see what other services are available. This sounds like a long and complicated list, right? But actually the super funds are characterized by just 2 main factors: the fees and the performance. The other factors are usually quite similar among the funds or don't have as big as an impact as the fee and the performance. Comparing the fees can really be worth it. I made another video where I can show you how we saved a lot of money by moving my husband's super fund to a new super fund with lower fees. Comparing the performance is a bit more tricky because it depends on the overall market development. But in general, you can say that chasing the last year's best performance is probably not going to give you the results you're looking for. Super is a long-term investment, so you should check for the performance over several years. 5 years is a very good idea because it's long enough period to see the development and the performance, but it's not too far off of the current market. Now let's see how you can compare super funds. Ideally, you want to find a fund with low fees and a good performance over the last 5 years. But where do you find this information? According to Money Smart, there are 6 comparison sites that are worth looking at: Canstar, RateCity, Chant West, Morningstar, selecting super and super ratings. So I went through all those comparison websites trying to narrow down the top 10 funds that are mentioned by all those websites. But I soon realized that this is very difficult, not to say impossible. Every website represents their results differently. Some calculate the fees for an account balance of 50,000, others for 180,000. Some represent the performance over the last 3 years, others over the last 5 years. There's no way to know if a website looked at the fund as a whole or if they actually split it up in the different investment options available. As you can see, it makes a comparison impossible. But because I went through all those websites and compiled all this data, and I really want to help you find a good fund, I made a list or lists for each website showing their top funds. You can find those lists on my website, retireon.com.au. The link is below in the description. And I also want you to keep in mind that this information is current for April 2019. First, let's look at Canstar. It's one of the best known comparison websites. Let's head over to the website so I can show you how you can find the results and how this all works. So here we are at canstar.com.au/superannuation. The first thing you have to do is fill out these filters here. So these numbers are suggested by the website, and it's actually a good idea to use them because the baby boomers have on average about $180,000 in their super funds according to the ASFA. So it makes sense to use those numbers because they best reflect reality. Then you click on No here so that you get all the funds and not just the ones that have a link to their website. And you compare funds. It takes a moment. And then you get this long list of funds here. If you would like to know more about the methodology they use to rate the funds, it's about here, about star ratings. But in short, you can say that Canstar considers investment performance, fees and product features across all superannuation products. A 5-star rated product has been assessed as offering outstanding value to the customers. So that's what you want. You can sort the results here by having the highest ratings first, and it implements that immediately. If you scroll down past the ads, you can see which one got a 5-star rating. So it's only a few. It's Australian Super, Supercare Employment Plan, Host Plus Personal Super, Intrust Super Executive Super, Statewide Super Employer Sponsored, and Sun Super for Life. The next one is already a 4-star rating. So as you can see, it's just a few. So how do you like the information I've given you so far? If you like it, please like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It has really been a lot of work to compile all this data, and I would really appreciate your support. Now let's head over to RateCity and I can show you how they represent their results. This is the landing page for RateCity.com.au. So if you go up here and you click on superannuation, you get to the super comparison site. You have again to select your age group and your balance. We'll take the same values, and I already explained why those are good values. And then we compare super funds. So it gives you a long list here as well. As you can see, it has the performance over the last 5 years and the fees calculated for 50,000 in the balance. So even though we put a bigger balance in, the fees are still only calculated for 50,000. And as you can see, there's no overall rating. So how do you figure out which ones are the good funds with the low fee and the high performance? You can either filter by return or by fees. But, and that's what I did, I extracted all this data into an Excel spreadsheet and then made a scatter chart to figure out which combine both criteria. So I calculated the median for both the fees and the performance, and then determined which funds are above the median performance so that they have really good performance, and below the median fee so they have a low fee. And I get 25 funds that actually meet both criteria. Here they are: ANZ Staff Super, Electricity Industry Super, Uni Super, Grove Wrap Super, Australian Super, BOC Super, MIST Super, Q Super, Alcoa, MTA My Super, Vision Super, North Super, Taskplan Project One, Victorian Independent School Super, First State Super Employer Sponsored Division, Cubus Sole Trader, VA Super, Hesta My Super, Median Super Personal, Sun Super for Life, VIC Super Growth, Super SA, Intrust Super, Energy Super, and BUSSQ My Super. The next comparison site on the list is Chant West. So they have yet a different rating system. As you can see, they distribute apples: gold, silver, and bronze. Obviously, gold is the best one. And they also have a different methodology. Let's have a quick look so that you get an understanding of how their rating system works. Down here, you can see the criteria they're using and the weight they're distributing it to it. So investment gets the biggest at 40%, then member service 30%, then only fees at 15%, insurance and organization. Feel free to read through it. I've put the link below in the description so that you can have a good understanding of the methodology they're using. But let's head back to their website to see how many funds there are. So by clicking on rating here, you get all the gold apples first, and actually there's a lot of them. There's 56 funds, and that's because they rated every single offering for each fund that they rated. So for example, Uni Super is on it with Accumulation 1, Accumulation 2, and the personal account. So the list I'm displaying now here is kind of like a cleaned up list. I've only put in Uni Super once, just to shorten the list so that it's easier to read. Even though it's a lot of funds and I'm not going to read them all out to you, you can either pause the video or go to my website retireon.com.au to get the full list with all the details. Now let's head over to Morningstar. So this is the Morningstar website. This site is quite similar to Chant West. They also have their own rating system, which is based on performance only. If you want to have a further look at the methodology, I've put the link below in the description, and I open it here to show you how it looks like. It's quite wordy and takes a while to read, but in short, what you have to remember is that they adjust for risks taken by the funds by calculating a risk penalty for each fund. But as I said, if you'd like to read more, please follow the link in the description. The first thing you have to do when you're on this website here is go here and make sure that you only have super funds selected. Otherwise, it includes other funds as well. It gets updated immediately. And then we want to have the best performer, right? So you click on Morningstar rating and it filters them for the 5-star ratings. So I did this and extracted this list of the 5 stars, and it gives me 169 funds. Again, as with Chant West, that includes several investment options for each fund. So again, I summarize the funds' names, and that gives 28 funds, which are displayed here. If you would like to have more time to look through the list or read the whole complete list, please find it on my website, retireon.com.au. So now we're heading over to Super Ratings. I opened the site here. This is superratings.com.au. If you click here, you get the top 10, and you can filter this as well. If you click here, it'll just loading. Yeah, here we go. So if you delete this one here, it takes the default investment option, and here you delete 3 years and you select 5 years, so that we're comparing things that we compared before, and it gives you this list of 10 super funds here. I'll give you a quick moment to read through, but again, I've put this list as well on my website. And if you scroll further down, you get the 10 top funds for fees. So here they are. I'll make this one disappear and it's a bit better visible. Here, that's the top 10 funds for fees. Again, I've put this list on my website as well. And the last comparison site we're gonna look at is Selecting Super. This one's over here. If you go through tools here, you find the top 10 products. So we'll look at this. And you can choose between performance and fees. Let's look at the fees first. That's an easy list. That's the top 10 funds for fees according to Selecting Super. And if we go back here again, tools, top 10 products, performance, and then we take the default option. That's the one that gets selected when you join a fund and don't make a specific selection. And this opens this big spreadsheet here. So the funds that are interesting you are these top 10 funds here, and therefore the best performance over 3 years. So I'm just going to blend those funds in a different way so it's easier to read for you. So that's all the lists. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you can't compare them directly like this because all the websites represent their results differently. But I know you're just as curious as I am and want to see if there's not a fund that made it on all the lists, right? Okay, I admit it, I did it. Australian Super makes it on all the lists except for one, Selecting Super Top Fees. But keep in mind that on some of the lists they are with one investment option and on others they are with a different one. As I said, you can't compare it directly. So what's the conclusion to all of this? Should you change over to one of the funds on those lists, maybe even Australian Super? Well, you can, but you should really make sure that the fund you're going to choose is going to suit your needs. I only compared the general information available online, and I didn't take into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. As I mentioned in a different video, we changed my husband's super funds from BT to Uni Super, although we shortly considered Australian Super. Our choice is mainly because of the lower fees and because Uni Super has some benefits that are particularly useful for our family. My recommendation to you is that you spend 30 minutes now to go through those lists of top super funds. Check if your current fund is on one of those lists and on which of the lists it is. Figure out what's most important for you. Is it the fees, the performance, insurance, other benefits? Once you figure out what's most important, then select a fund that reflects that criteria. Call them up and make sure that the fund really suits your needs. Also, talk to your financial advisor if you have one. And once you find a fund that suits you better, then switch. It's super easy. It took my husband about 10 minutes to fill out the online application, and that's all it took, because then UniSuper handled everything else related to the move. But the main thing I want you to keep from this video is that spending a little time now to find a good super fund that suits you, you can save a lot of money. Or in other words, your balance could be a lot bigger when you're about to retire. So what do you think about all of this? Please let me know by commenting below. Like and subscribe to my channel so you get notified when I post a new video. Also head down to the description and you find the links to those comparison websites and the link to my website where I've put all those lists. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video.